Bad news. Matt Gaetz withdraws as Attorney General nominee. It is clear that my confirmation was unfairly becoming a distraction to the critical work of the Trump-Vance transition, Matt Gaetz said. Well, here's the tweet he put out. He said, I had excellent meetings with senators yesterday. I appreciate their thoughtful feedback and the incredible support of so many. While the momentum was strong, it is clear that my confirmation was unfairly becoming a distraction to the critical work of the Trump-Vance transition. There is no time to waste on a needlessly protracted Washington scuffle. Thus, I'll be withdrawing my name from consideration to serve as Attorney General. Trump's DOJ must be in place and ready on day one. I remain fully committed to see that Donald J. Trump is the most successful president in history. I will be forever honored that President Trump nominated me to lead the Department of Justice, and I'm certain he will save America. Now, of course, the news is that Pam Bondi is the new Trump pick for Attorney General. She's a former Florida Attorney General and was part of Trump's defense during his first impeachment trial. Now, many people are speculating that this was always the plan. Matt Gaetz was going to come out as the big ask. Then when we can't get Matt, so he'll never get confirmed, they pull him back. Pam Bondi steps up. The argument being that if Trump, no matter who Trump chose, they'd send in the big guns. So if Trump came out first and we want Pam Bondi, they'd accuse her of everything. They'd call her a Nazi, whatever they had to do. So he goes with Matt Gaetz. Now, if they say the same thing about Pam Bondi, people are going to be like, whoa, hold on. Like, is every single person going to be like this? And then it makes it look bad on their side. I can't imagine Matt Gaetz resigned from Congress without realizing senators were not going to confirm him. I don't imagine a reality where Matt's sitting there being like, there will be no contest. I'm going to get in. It'll be easy. Plus, there was a talk of recess appointments. Mm-hmm. I have to assume they had this planned.
I don't know about planned, but I do think that it should have been or would have been something that they were aware was a possibility. As for Pam Bondi, I'm not super familiar with her, but if she has worked on Team Trump before and she's willing to do the same job that Gaetz was, because at the end of the day, as far as I'm concerned, I want to see someone do the job. Right. It would have been cool if it was Gaetz because, he's a friend of ours and all that. But at the same time, just so long as it's someone that will go after the people that have broken the law and investigate people that are suspected of breaking the law. If she's willing to do that, it doesn't really matter. But I want someone that's a bulldog, someone that's actually going to go hard and actually use the Department of Justice to hopefully root out the massive amounts of corruption in the United States federal government, because it's clear that there is a huge amount of corruption. I mean, all of the investigations into Trump, every last one of them is suspect. So everything.
And Matt Gaetz.
What?
And Matt Gaetz.
Yeah, Matt Gaetz. Yeah, fair enough. So it's clear that the bureaucracy and the former DOJ abused their power, or at least it's highly likely, but I won't get into definitive terms, but it's highly likely. And it looks like the DOJ abused the hell out of their power and really have done a terrible disservice to the American people, because your average person that pays attention to the inner world or the day-to-day stuff coming out of Washington, they're all looking at the stuff. They all look at the stuff that Trump was accused of, and they're like, I'm not so sure that look, they went after Trump, but they didn't go after Biden, and they decided not to prosecute Clinton, but they're going to go after Trump, and they raided Mar-a-Lago, and all of these things that the DOJ did the entire time that Biden was president, and all of these things that were going on while Trump was president, all of the Steele dossier, all of the Russiagate stuff, all that stuff. The average person has really lost faith in this justice system.
Yeah. So the 5 senators who I'm seeing floated that allegedly, I can't find it from an official account. It's only these parody accounts. So let's take this with a grain of salt. But the likely people would have been Susan Collins, the senator from Maine, who would have voted against Matt Gaetz, Lisa Murkowski from Alaska. They're saying Mitch McConnell, and then I'm not very familiar with John Curtis from Utah. Matt Gaetz made a lot of enemies when he was in Congress, when he tried to overthrow the majority leader McCarthy.
Tried to?
Or well, when he successfully overthrew McCarthy, and he made a lot of political enemies as a
Didn't he
result.
say Trump's name instead of McCarthy when they were casting him?
At least at one point. And there's a lot of inside baseball going on about the timing of the resignation and all of this going down. Allegedly, Matt Gaetz originally asked McCarthy to sweep the House investigation into his. There's some ethics complaint against Matt Gaetz, allegedly sleeping with a 17-year-old, that he wanted McCarthy to sweep under the rug. McCarthy refused. Matt Gaetz tried to overthrow him, upset the establishment, among other things. They've been enemies ever since. And this is some of the downstream effects we're seeing from there.
Well, are you familiar with like Scott Adams' take on Trump's A/B testing strategy he used to talk about when he was, ever since he even started running?
Explain it.
In running in 2015, if you listen to Scott Adams, who wrote like the Dilbert comic strips and has been calling Trump's basic like hero's arc story since the very beginning. He said in 2015, when everyone thought it was a laughingstock that he would be running, that he would be winning, and he called Trump's victory all through, and he calls this the big third act. But his whole thing is that Trump has always had this strategy where people think he's just being a clown and being impulsive, but it's actually very calculated in that he'll say something that will be much more provocative or make choices that are provocative, and everyone will react to it. And then when he walks it back to the actual position he was going to take to begin with, it seems like a reasonable compromise. And if he were to come out first with the appointment he has now, people would have brought out the guns. But in doing so, it's like throwing out the A, see where people react, which is Gaetz, and then pulling it back and nominating her. So it's been a pattern all along that is much more calculated than I think people realize.
He's famous for the big ask.
That's it, the big ask.
Yep.
I make deals. I make so many deals.
I mean, if again, I don't know that there was a plan in it. If Trump was familiar with her anyways,
How could there not be?
Well, I think
like I said, I think that the situation was like he probably had a backup because everyone does know that Matt Gaetz is a firebrand, but I don't know that it was his intent.
Matt Gaetz coming out and being like, "We couldn't get the votes, so I have to withdraw," and I'm like, that doesn't seem to make sense.
Because there was also rumors, though, that the House was going to come out with the House Ethics Committees a couple of days before he ended up resigning. So I think
that's nonsense. Of course, they leak these things no matter what.
Sure, and it did actually eventually get leaked to the New York Times. So
the report's been leaked?
Not the full report, but they said there was a hacker who fed part of it. But
and now some files have already been released showing his like Venmo transactions. Matt Gaetz leaving. This is a talking point from Democrats. Oh, he's leaving, so they can't do it. What do you mean they can't do it? They're voting. They want to. They tried to have a vote to release it anyway, and it would come up in the Senate hearings for confirmation either way. So I don't think that makes any sense.
I think the case closes once he resigns from Congress.
And they still said they were going to vote to release it. So what are they going to do?
So this is generally Gaetz thought if there are 4 Republican senators that were going to vote no, 3, then there's no way he could have been confirmed because the other side would have had the majority.
He wasn't getting any from Democrats.
And there's no way to re-vote or revote.
There is a recess appointment.
Well, they didn't vote at all, by the way.
Right. So they went and talked. He claims he went and talked to senators. Too many of them, I think it was like 4, were like, we're not going to do it. And he's like, well, that's it. You can't do it. And so according to numerous reports, and I don't trust any of these people, I think it was Politico, I'm not sure, they said that a source familiar with what happened said Trump told them, look, you don't have the votes. It's not going to work. I don't buy it because as soon as they said Matt Gaetz, everyone said it's going to have to be a recess appointment. There's no way Donald Trump and Matt Gaetz, and I know Matt, and he's brilliant. He's a super smart guy. He saw this coming.
Yeah.
So my only assumption is he goes back to Congress, maybe gets appointed to senator when Rubio comes out. But they had to have seen this coming.
Oh, does
Look,
Rubio appoint?
I'm a huge fan of Matt Gaetz. I've told him this to his face. He's been on the show. Favorite member of Congress for standing up to the machine, standing up to Kevin McCarthy. You got Mike Lawler out of New York saying he risked our majority by siding with Democrats. I'm like, no, he sided with the people who are fed up with your whole corrupt Congress that cuts deals behind our back to spend trillions of dollars on garbage. And we're proud of Matt Gaetz for having done that. That being said, my opinion is that he had a plan the whole time.
I will say, if the DOJ had the goods on him, I'm sure they wouldn't have had any problem going after him for it. So there is something there with them not coming out. And again, it doesn't need to reach the threshold of being illegal to have done something that is bad or wrong. But
does Rubio appoint his successor now?
I think DeSantis does.
Oh, Ron DeSantis. He could just be like, Gaetz, you're the guy. Just like that.
He would never, though, because DeSantis ran against Trump in the primary, and then Gaetz backed Trump hard, and DeSantis probably took that personally.
Maybe, but I think DeSantis does support the Republican agenda in general. and Gaetz is a good choice for senator. But what else could Gaetz do, like in the Trump administration? Aren't there other roles in the Trump administration he could get?
I mean, Gaetz resigned now, right, for during this Congress when he was elected for the next Congress. So he could take his seat back because he was elected in January. He resigned for I think it's the 118th Congress, and when the 119th Congress goes in to take their seats, he can take that seat because he didn't resign saying I'll never be in Congress again. He said I'm resigning from the 118th Congress.
I think in worst case there would be a special election and he'd definitely win the seat. I'm not sure if
Why go through this round?
Like I said, the point.
He doesn't need a special election. He's the congressman-elect for that district. Yeah. That means come January 3rd, he's just in.
So was this more of a favor to Trump or vice versa? Why go through this roundabout process from his perspective?
Favor to Trump.
Yeah.
Part of the plan, part of the mission, you know.
What do you think?
Maybe he's senator.
Yeah.
You guys don't think that Rubio would do that?
I don't know if Rubio. I mean,
DeSantis?
DeSantis would do that.
I think he would. I don't see who else he would appoint. Well, I don't know.
The thing is that the Democrats have no credibility when it comes to any of these alleged sexual assault cases, especially when there isn't any criminal complaints. They did the same thing to Kavanaugh.
I don't know that
and
matters,
I think the Republicans are. I think it's an important thing because they're going to come with similar allegations against Trump's other cabinet picks, like Pete Hegseth, which is the next guy.
Right now, Republicans can just say, "Look, this is standard procedure." Right? Like Republicans can actually say that. Hegseth, Kavanaugh, Gaetz. I mean, you can go down the list of at least, probably if I sat and thought about it, we could come up with at least 5 different people that are Republicans that have all been accused of some kind of sexual misconduct. Right? Like that's Donald Trump, you know, that is normal. Mm-hmm. And I think that because there's been no arrests, investigations have gone nowhere. You know, with a massive majority, significant majority of these accusations, you can safely say, look, you know, that's just what the Democrats do. I think that it's more likely, or the more important factor is what is Gaetz' relationship with DeSantis? You know, because if DeSantis does like him and they get along, then it might be more likely. But I don't know.
But there are White House positions that you could get appointed to, and you don't need to be confirmed to by the Senate. There's bad blood between them from the primary, I believe.
DeSantis and Gaetz?
DeSantis and Gaetz, yeah.
Why?
Because Gaetz was a hardcore Trump backer, and DeSantis thought he had a chance against him.
But in a post-Trump victory world, a lot of stuff gets washed under the bridge. Look at Little Marco now next to Donald Trump.
Or Lion Ted.
Little Marco, we called him, and now he's Secretary of
I still think Trump's holding a grudge against... there's
Trump is holding a grudge? Trump does not hold grudges.
DeSantis.
Trump doesn't hold grudges.
Yeah,
Trump doesn't
famously
at all.
doesn't, and I think it's a problem.
He's
saying of Micah and Joe showing up to Mar-a-Lago. He's like, well, you know,
that.
I'll give people extra chances. He says, I'll give them 1, 2, 3, but I won't do 4.
Trump is so likely to not hold a grudge that even Cenk Uygur had made a tweet. You know, one of the good things about Trump is that he doesn't hold grudges. Like it's so.
You will not speak over me.
It's such a thing with Trump that like even people that are considered far left have to acknowledge, he doesn't hold grudges.
As long as they're deferential.
He's not going to hold a grudge against anyone.
Do you think there's any other cabinet
No,
position
of course,
that's gonna be
100%.
held up here?
Pardon me?
Do you think there's any other cabinet position that's likely to get held up here?
I think that they're going to go. I think the two that are most likely going to see the most resistance is Tulsi for DNI and I think
Bobby Kennedy.
Kennedy.
Yeah, because they're Democrats.
Pardon me?
Because they're former Democrats.
No,
I think it would be difficult for Republicans to vote to confirm somebody like Tulsi Gabbard.
No. I think it's
Kennedy is a different thing entirely because it's not a political thing. It's more about his unique kind of position.
Yeah, well, Kennedy, it's because of his views. Kennedy, it's because of his views, and Tulsi Gabbard, it's because of her outlook on the intelligence community overall.
We'll keep our eyes on those.
The thing that's difficult is that Trump, when he said it on Rogan that when he first got in, he's still surrounded by insiders and establishment people, and it was very hard for him to sift through that. And now he has sort of the authority to go outside that, but you still need this confirmation process. So it's this fine line of getting confirmed by people who are establishment while bringing people in who are from the outside.
It's normal for a couple, like 1 or 2, to not make it.
Yeah.
But at some point, like they do say, look, the president gets to select his cabinet, and they are who the people that the president prefers.
Like a customary thing.
Well, the thing is, it's with the consent of the Senate, but the Senate, like the Senate, is generally considered. It's like normally they're like, well, we may not like him, but the president gets to make his cabinet full of people that he likes, and it would be unprecedented if they were like 4 people that you know.
If that were to happen and the Senate didn't confirm anybody, and then Trump gets in office, what happens?
Well, the positions have to be filled.
By who?
No, I mean
It'd be recess appointments until they eventually.
right, but during Trump's first administration, famously, many of these positions went unfilled because they were obstructing Trump every step of the way. Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.